Five, 4, 3, 2. Welcome, everyone, to another adventure into reality. I am joined today by Liv Wheeler. Liv is initiated of a Kontomble Voice Diviner, as well as a ritual facilitator. She's tended to a relationship with the other worlds for the past 15 years. She's published her first book, With the Love of the Ancients, My Spiritual Journey of Remembering, and produced a full-length feature documentary, The Remembering, filmed in Mongolia, released in 2019. Liv also created the Kontomble Medicine School Earth's Amulet. From the well springs of the school came an Earth Amulet certification program and a heart-centered shamanic healing school created in early 2021. Liv, welcome to the show. Today we're going to delve deep into the nature of shamanic realities, but just give people a sample of what it took for you to get to where you were, the journey to becoming the Kontomble Voice Diviner.
Well, for starters, it's an honor to be with you, Andrew. And as I was mentioning before we started recording, I have great respect for you. It was kind of a meandering journey. And when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, I was guided, I guess, by my parents and by society. So I was doing a job that had not much to do with me, but more to do with like the outer's idea of who I should be. So I knew what that experience was like. And then it didn't feel right. And so, making money and doing things in that way and kind of being inside of experiencing a lot of corruption and things that didn't feel true to my soul, I had that visceral experience of what felt like not me. And so I kind of like set off on the journey to find out who I was. And I just started following my intuition before I labeled it as such, my early 20s. And then kind of one thing led to another, and it led me to my longtime teacher, Malidoma Somé, from the Dagra people in Burkina Faso, West Africa. And yeah, it was kind of a meandering way and kind of like feeling my way through it or feeling my way into it. And so I never like had aspirations of like being a diviner or something. It was really just kind of like following, I guess in a sense, like following breadcrumbs, following intuition, following feelings, following my heart. And then through working with Melodoma and going to Burkina Faso and West Africa, it was igniting remembering. And when I first read Melodoma's book, it was like I was remembering magic. I was remembering this ancient kind of medicine in a way that I was like, oh, I know that, or, somehow I just knew that it was real. And I would hear about the Kontomble. I was like, I know they're real. It was affirming something that somehow I just knew that. And then, yeah, when I started going to Burkina, then with Melodoma, then it just, yeah, something was getting ignited from inside of me, and then all of a sudden, over time, it became clear that through initiation also, these beings that are with me or that have been with me for so long were able to communicate through me, which was a near-death kind of experience, but that enabled me to essentially speak in their tongue, that they are able to communicate through me in their tongue, and then I'm able to translate what they're saying into English, which sounds very different than human language. It sounds very high pitched, and it has this. It sounds more like a sound in nature or something like that.
Some people call that light language.
Yeah, I was thinking about that last time when we connected. You had mentioned light language. When I hear people speak light language, I wondered that also because you had mentioned that last time, and I wondered, oh, is he also speaking about the Kontomble language?
Every
Um,
spirit family has a language,
uh-huh.
and there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of dialects. Do they
Yeah.
all come from a root source? Yes, the source.
Right,
And
right, right.
every ancestor that has an ancestor that has an ancestor that has an ancestor that can trace back to the root of ancestors, their dialect comes from that source. So whether it's clicks, natures, has a different enunciation, it's about the direct manifestation from the intangible world to the tangible world, and what it takes for the translator to hold the space for enunciation, pronunciation that does not have definition in their mind, but only definition as the manifestation. Like ocho kuka takicho to toto waka. Right there is a rhythmic reminder of how language can train and be anything, as the enunciation is the manifestation.
I was laughing because I can feel the Kontomble talking about you. They agree. They concur.
Yes, that's right. Power to the light language. You can change the world with it.
Like staff goes down to the ground. Yes, he gets it.
Yep.
I think it was them. I told you before we started recording. The first time I heard, well, in this lifetime, was when you were having a conversation with Laura Eisenhower and David Rodriguez. And now it's brought to my attention or my awareness. I believe it was the Kontomble that urged me to connect with you. They're like, go, remember. It'll help you remember more, which is true. Yeah, I'm so grateful for that.
And that's the other part of the journey. When I do interviews like this or I do shows, I know my frequency triggers people in a positive and sometimes in a negative way. But the trigger is to take the journey to remember. How did he do it? Do I know him? Wait a second. And that wait a second itself, that pondering where they will have never pondered before.
You know what when I was imagining connecting with you this morning, there was this vision that came. It reminds me of like how I've experienced the way you work also. Is it also kind of, it's like showing a person, hey, did you notice that you have this kind of, if I'm just telling you what they show me, it's like this kind of like dingy old heavy jacket on that you may not need anymore, and it is your choice to take off that jacket because you have other things in your closet which might provide warmth that maybe feel more like nourishing to your being or something. That's the way, there's this way that I noticed that it's kind of like ultimately it feels like a restoration of light.
That dingy old jacket is recognizable, though. Yeah. I'm going to send that jacket to the spiritual dry cleaners. You get your point.
There's a way that you ask questions. I've sat with you twice in mentoring. There's ways that you ask questions. And I'm like, okay, wait, you're seeing something. I should listen closely to what you're seeing because it's something anyway, it's been really helpful.
Wonderful. So this journey to becoming a voice diviner, kind of give how it works for you if people are having sessions with you or coming into your school. What would it be like?
Well, the Kontomble school that you mentioned, that was in 2020. So the shamanic school that's happening in 2021 isn't so much Kontomble divining, but they asked me to have these here. When I was working more one-on-one, now the Kontomble work that I do is really in groups. But there's bells that are here, and then there's a rattle that I have, and it's essentially, sometimes a person, or when I'm working with groups of people, then they'll have questions or there'll be an intention. sometimes, yeah, anyway. And so I'll basically, sometimes the Kontomble, they'll ask each person's like first name or stars that they're familiar with or that they're attracted to. They'll ask different questions each time, and then I'll ring the bells and shake the rattle, and then there's, once that starts, like the visions and things will start appearing here. If you want to hear from them at some point, I
Sure.
usually, you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do a full introduction to the audience. They can feel it too.
Let's do it towards the end, because when I do it, Andrew, I turn off the camera, because that's also traditional.
Okay.
That the person is not supposed to be looking at you when you do that, but I'm sure they will love to talk to you.
I'd love to have a conversation. We'll go deep.
Yeah, I can totally feel them wanting to connect with you. So they'll start talking, and they're sometimes really fun. They're similar, they're similar to you in the sense that they have a sense of humor, and also they're kind of straight shooters,
So are they ancestors? Are they a group of people? Are they a bunch of individuals? How does that kind of work from the other side?
Well, I have a feeling you know the answer to that, but I'll tell you what I understand or what I believe or what I've experienced. So basically, the Kontomble, those are the little people from Burkina Faso in West Africa, from a particular region of West Africa. But what I've since learned, so that was 2005 that I started working with Maladama, and I worked with him for 8 years. But what I continue to learn or to remember through the journey is that there are little people all over the earth, and they've been here since the beginning. And like, I have Native friends here in the United States, well, what's called the United States anyway, but there's like one of my friends, Lakota, he said, the little people, for example, that he's aware of, there's 5, but then when I would go to Iceland, they're the Huldufolk or the elves, or in the Philippines, they would be the duendes, but even that would be like, that's a Spanish name sometimes, so there would even be like the older, like the indigenous names for them in these different regions. Or when I was in New Zealand and I was connecting with a Maori friend, he would tell me, their name for them. But that's what I learned or remembered through traveling around the world. They would guide me to these different places, including I would talk to shamans in Mongolia about them. We'd sit with them together. And my understanding of them is that they've been here since the beginning, really ancient. And then the way I've experienced them is they try to like help humans to evolve, and sometimes they're said to be like culture bringers. And I experienced them that they love design and artistry and songs and things that also to me feel kind of like Venusian energies, that it's music and it's all these things that they're such like enrich our human experience so much, and the Kontomble, they're very they can be kind of intense about it also, but they're like, want us to remember our inherent humanity of like kindness, and that we're inherently abundant. And the kind of how they'll tell us like in nature, how different things, it's possible to view nature and to see this kind of Darwinian like survival of the fittest thing, but it's also possible to view nature and to see, well, the rain is giving to the tree, and the tree is giving to the birds, and this is giving, the river is giving to the humans. Like, what's not generous about nature, and are we not a part of that? Have we forgotten our place in the ecology of nature? So the Kontomble and the little people around the earth, I feel that I experience them as like earth guardians, earth guardians, and they're reminding us of what's natural about us, and how it is a part of humanity also, this kind of like genuine hospitality, not the kind of, saccharine, the kind of artificial, we're being nice or something, but the genuine hospitality that is a part of, us as old humans. So some things like that.
So that's a very interesting. So as a side note, when they first got to Hawaii and they were trying to annex the island of Hawaii, they did a population search, and they mentioned the little people. And at that point in time, there was actually like 27 little people on the island. And all throughout the Pacific Islands, when the British and French explorers would go there, they found little people all the time.
Right. The Menehune. Yeah. When I was in Kauai, yeah, we connected with the Menehune. I love them. Well, I guess also there would be so many too, but you know, I don't know what you feel about this, because I know you read right into the energy, but my sense also is it was through this kind of like religious colonization and everything, where people kind of got fear came in the way of humans' relationships, not only with the little people, also with ancestors, also with these various magical beings that when they're not consciously remembering, it was trauma, you know, the kind of indoctrination of fear through the generations, to the point that it's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, even the cultures that know that they're real, yeah, we know they're real, but just don't look at them or something, you know.
Because the negative teachings of monotheism denied and made them hellborn, satanic, or negative, even though the monotheistic religions hijacked the majority of paganism. And it was when the cultural ignorance took over that people began to shun these things that are naturally a part of our life, and we should have been taught at the various earliest stages of life. You know, there are a variety of little people that help children to dream.
Right.
They lead them in and out of the dream world. And we could end nightmares and night terrors instantly by allowing children to connect to the little people again. But the negative infrastructure and grid of our world wants night terrors. Okay?
Right. Well, you say they're saying like they appreciate you so much. They're like asking to say a little bit more. Will you say just a little bit more about that?
So night terrors, what are they going to do? Create fear and trauma in a human being at a very young age, which means as they get older and older, they'll go further and further away from natural living, because natural living will represent the good quality dreams. And to get to the good quality dreams, you have to go through trauma. There's a membrane of trauma that no child wants to cross anymore. So there's always this grid of negativity around where children find it very tough. You know, and in the olden days, you know, you didn't cut the umbilical cord right away on a child. You let it stay for 4 to 5 days. The child stayed on the mother's heart, so it finished its transitioning as a being in a womb to a being that was living. And today in our modern society, they absolutely should have the umbilical cord not cut, and the child on the mother's heart, and not kick them out of the hospital immediately, or allow for some form of orgasmic birth.
Yeah, for sure.
Take care of so much of the negative things. And then when children have invisible friends, you know, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, right.
It's creativity that is allowing a manifestation from the spirit world that gives them the opportunity to develop neural pathways that are allowing the unseen world to work directly with them and make unique special translation skills like you and I have.
Yes. And also, you know, it's interesting you mentioned the children's connection with the little people also, because I have heard in particular cultures that the little people come to the children, and those oftentimes maybe would be like the medicine people or something, that they'll go right to them, and those might be like the healers in the village or something. Yeah.
And then we have a lot of children who live in the big city, London or Germany or Japan, and the little people come to them and their mom and dad are scared.
Right.
Because they have no outlet. They have no outlet.
Exactly.
And then they become afraid of spirit in general.
Exactly.
And then when they're 40 and 50, they come seeking out people like you and me.
Exactly.
Full of trauma, full of fear, and it's about getting them back to an innocent state.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the innocent state.
Because in that innocent state, anything can happen once again.
Yeah, it's like the awe, the state of openness, and like, I don't know. And you know, that's the thing, when the Kontomble talk to you towards the end, like, I have no idea what they're gonna say to you. I actually don't know. And that's always what it is when I would work one-on-one with people or work with groups, I would have no idea what they're gonna say. And there's a vulnerability in that, you know, but it's also like being in that kind of childlike, you know, kind of return to what are we just inherently made of. It to be human is, there is vulnerable.
Absolutely. And then to discover the unique kind of human you are in the greater awakening. You made it this far. That means you've got something special in your DNA. That's to everyone out there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You made it this far. You got something special in you. And now you got to take the journey of inner discovery and go, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Andrew, about, I know that you have a special emphasis on trauma also, and what do you feel, or because I perceive people, and I move in and out of, like, I can move in and out of the fear state too, but it feels like that's such a kind of energy. It's how to kind of move out of that.
Every trauma is a little different. When adrenaline, fight, flight, or freeze takes over the body, and it has deep enforcement by parasympathetic shivering or parasympathetic terror feeling or anxiety and panic attacks, those are things that are on top of that. Those are, breathing is the general way to get through it. But in that breath, there has to be a wisdom of clearing. There has to be a mental dialogue. And then within that deep breath is, I am letting go of the panic. I'm letting go of the stranglehold that this energy has on me. It is a chemical reaction from the trauma of repetition. I am now flipping the frequency on the trauma and allowing my heart to be free. That's all embedded in that first breath. And on the exhale, it's enforcing that will over the sympathetic, the parasympathetic, and the fight, flight, or freeze situation. Now, that's the metaphor I create. The practice and practicality of that is also going to determine the environment that you're in. There are times that the energy of the environment is so dirty, it's what's triggering the fight, flight, or freeze. Or the energy is so potent and high, it's clean energy, and there's a deep, dark, oily sack of darkness inside you that is getting activated by this high frequency, and it is your self due diligence and vigilance to purge it. Okay? And willing to take on that action in the moment, separate of the projections, to acknowledge that this energy has a hold over you, a sway over you, and to go, no, you no longer have this type of sway or hold. I'm a free-willed sovereign being, and I'm choosing to purge it out of my energy field and replace it with forgiveness, inspiration, and new healing dreams.
Yeah.
And then there's other kinds of trauma. Trauma that is pure mental trauma that locks us into arguing with people. And debate and argument can be a beneficial thing for all of humanity, but there's a fine line when debate becomes personal, ad hominem attacks are there, and you're there just to be a conversational terrorist. Okay? Okay? You've got the waist belt bomb on, or you've got the bombs planted all around, and you've got to recognize when you're a conversational terrorist.
Yeah, true.
Okay? Or recognize when someone else is being a conversational terrorist and exit yourself out of that environment, because that means you or that person has become a zealot or a martyr for their own cause. And zealotry and martyrship are their own trauma journeys. And to accepting that my way is the only way, and that's usually what a zealot says, and a martyr goes, my way is the only way, and I'm going to kill myself if you don't believe it, and use guilt and shame over you. I throw myself on the altar of my beliefs. Okay?
Yeah.
No one wants to watch people flail themselves and throw them on the altar of their beliefs. The best thing you can do to a martyr is turn your back and walk away. Don't allow them to put a show on. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But everyone deserves a helping hand.
Sure.
But there's a fine line between what's a helping hand and what's taking the whole arm with it.
Right.
Okay? So we have to use that discernment and judgment in all situations where obviously I have great amount of respect for the traumatized person, but I won't enable them.
Right.
They got to do it on their own. There's got to be a spark of willingness that activates enthusiastic effort.
Yes. Yeah. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that, what I perceive about the way you work with people, and also the way I've experienced it when I've worked with you. Yeah, that's what I also experience when I work with people too, is there's some, it's like there's gotta be some kind of like will ignited, like the internal will ignited, that my experience, or what I've experienced is, it seems so much of the kind of, it's something about the like consumer culture. It's something about like being a spectator or something, or it's like we're the watcher or something, and people forget that like they're actually that we all are, responsible for our being, and what the energy that we bring to this space, that kind of self-ignition, in the healing process, and working with like a healing facilitator, is that still there is the choice that we are choosing to ignite our being, and that feels really important also in the kind of dynamic.
And that journey of a healer looking for self-ignition in others is a challenging one, because when you pass over the self-ignition of the others, you begin using your core energy to ignite them. That's like using a can of ether to start somebody's car for them.
Absolutely.
And you should never be using your core energy as a healer.
Right.
You are doing more damage to that person's journey and your own, because they have to learn self-ignition, self-illumination. Okay?
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of people that are on Facebook and YouTube and go too far with the postings, too far with the givings. And they don't realize that people take them for granted and don't valuate the teachings. All the teachings have to have a valuation, not necessarily in dollar value, but in the valuation of what the generosity of the wisdom is, of how it can affect the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So once we get people into the self-ignition stage, we've got to go, not necessarily hands off, not back off, but respectfully say, I won't enable you to get out of neutral gear. You've got to put it in first gear and step on the gas and obey the traffic laws going forward.
Yeah.
Okay? And what are the traffic laws? Don't step on another's journey. Don't ram into a person with your beliefs.
Right.
If there's a yellow light, don't speed up. It's telling you to be aware.
Right. Yeah. Perceive the energies around you more than your own. Yeah.
Exactly. And then don't take on the garbage of others.
Right.
You are not a dumping ground for their narcissistic habit patterns.
Yeah, and I don't know if you experience this too, Andrew, but it feels to me also, in what I've experienced, is it feels not so many people understand already the energy, the other energy, like all the ways that you communicate. You speak in a very, like, it's congruent, what you're saying, and all the energy, everything matches up, and so it's easier to follow like the energy of what you're communicating. And I find not so many are understanding, the kind of greater energies, and also the ones, I had asked you about this before and you brought this up with me, and this was new-ish to me, what you had talked about also with the Mandela effect, and this these ways that also how we can kind of get like duped too, and kind of like spun into like all the energetic phenomenon that swirls around us at any given time. And as you were mentioning, like one's trauma and what lives inside of one, and then how that can get activated by the energetic space that they're existing in, or or moving through, and everything else, the kind of like pockets of toxicity or something. And when we
Sometimes, sometimes it can be held in the DNA. Sometimes it can be held in the DNA of a past you or a future you. But the current you is the one that's going through the intersection and trisection of many forms of awareness that are acknowledging a greater awareness is happening as we're moving out of the Kali Yuga cycle and into the section of the galaxy that has a lot more light in it.
Oh, okay. Well,
And,
yeah, okay, yeah.
and then the Mandela effect is a consequence of retribution. So that which has been used negatively before will now bleed through in a positive situation. Sometimes a positive situation seems like a negative situation until we're able to explore it for a greater purpose of discovery. Now, consequence of retribution represents a set of words in English, but then there's the term bleed through. There are certain things that have happened in one reality but haven't happened here. But you here remember it happening in the other reality, but the rest of this reality doesn't remember it. And that's called spiritual gaslighting from the negative forces out there. Until such a time more and more people remember. This is why I like to rephrase the Great Awakening into the Great Remembering. Okay? Because we're remembering who we have been, who we are today, and who we will be in the future in a way that is not going to compete with this I am's journey today. It will open us up to the great potentiality of what I call the unlimited point of view, and the journey to generating a perception in you that I am worthy of an unlimited point of view.
Right, yeah.
I value my journey of healing enough that it is my birthright and legacy to research, learn, and relearn the many ways to discover the unlimited point of view. By unlimiting myself through the journey of self-discovery, self-healing, self-nurturing, recognizing the programs of self-defeat in myself and in the general environment around me, and begin to flip the frequencies on self-defeat and make it self-illumination.
And so this is what, I forget exactly how you mentioned it before, the Kali Yuga, and then what were you saying? It's like the greater, what were you saying about the light?
We're coming into a denser part of the galaxy where there's a lot more light. Like we left a part of the galaxy, like we've just crossed the galactic central plane back in 2015.
Okay.
And that was the representative of an area where the amount of light was less, and we're moving into a section of the galaxy where there's way more light. There's another color. Like we're going to be entering within a matter of weeks and months an environment where we'll be experiencing the 8th color and 9th color of time.
Yeah, totally. The reason why I got so excited about that was because the Kontomble, they were talking to somebody recently, and they were talking about that exact thing. They were talking about new color. Yeah, that's exactly it. They were talking about new color. And I do, if you want to talk to them soon, I do feel them close, and it could be really interesting.
Sure. Do you want to do that now? We've been going for about 47 minutes already, 44 minutes.
Well, what do you feel?
I'm great. That's how long they want to talk for, and then we'll just do a finish up with you too. Or do you want to or how does it work for you? Do you want to end it on that?
It will end on that, because once they're in me and then they're communicating, then I'm done, and then I get hungry.
Okay. Do you just want to give a quick explanation of the process then, and then we'll just go right into it? And you want to turn the camera off for that?
I will turn the camera on for that, but can I mention something about Venus, since we're going into this planetary information? And I had mentioned that, so I actually wrote about this in my book, because I don't know if you remember this, Andrew, if you were connected to it, but it was around, I think it was, what would it be? It would be, there was the Venus transits that happened. So what would it be, like 2004 and 2012? Was it maybe?
So there was a Venus transit in 2014 where it created the Grand Cross.
I don't think it was the grand. So there's my understanding. Basically, there was like this whole Venus phenomenon that happened a while ago, and it was there. So there's a transit that happens, and I think it crosses the sun, and it happens, and then it happens 8 years later. So I think the second time was in 2012, if I remember correctly. But anyway, it felt so significant that I put in my book anyway. But and I didn't understand why I was like so almost like fixated on Venus, and I was like, what is going on, and had this really strong affinity and everything else. And then when I was the second mentoring session I had with you, and then anyway, there was this kind of remembering you or something, and then it was that. But you had mentioned something about Venus, and would you be open to mentioning that? Because
so Venus is a unique planet in which it has many forms of energetic environments, from gaseous to energetic. So it's got many things on its surface. And when beings come there, they go through a initiation into certain high frequency energy environments, and their DNA adjusts to the environment that's there. That allows them to free roam the surfaces, the planet's surface, and have access to the light cities that are there. So think of it as the DNA is going through like a prism of experiences. So it's a form of bilocation, trilocation, quadlocation, allowing you to multidimensionally experience the planet and its capacity to give you data and information. Now, millions of years ago, there was a society created called the Venusian philosophers, and their purpose was to collect every perspective of light and dark and other subject matters that were not just light and dark, and assemble their best orators, their best speakers, their best writers, and then once every 5 or 6 billion years, they would assemble people on Venus in a neutral state where they're not going to attack each other and present their idea, present their philosophy, and allow it to be debated by all the other philosophers of the place and space and time. And you were a part of this journey of what it took to collect philosophers from other worlds, and let alone to bring their philosophy to someplace else and get it debated in a situation where everybody's wisdom can go through this greater spiritual debate process that was not ad hominem and negative spiritual attacks or, the conversational terrorism. What are the merits of the philosophy, and how can it be implemented into new worlds that where budding consciousness are there? So the Venusian philosophers are very connected to the spirit of the planet also. There is the spirit of the planet is the muse, the inspirator of philosophy, so that when philosophers will go to other planets, they can teach younger spirits in the astral world tools and techniques and philosophies and ideologies that can take root in this world and grow a culture around an ideology. And then it's the mass spreading of the wisdoms through the neutral attendance and the treaties that were there to make sure all the forms of philosophies and wisdoms can come through.
Okay. Do you want me to explain? Thank you so much, Andrew. And then do you want me to explain? I'll be turning off the video soon. Did you want to say anything else? I'll explain the process a tiny bit.
Yeah, just explain it a tiny bit and then we'll jump into it.
Okay, awesome. So basically, as I showed you, these bells. These are the particular bells that called the Kontomble. Received them in initiation when I was in Burkina. And then, so basically ringing the bells and then shaking the rattle. And then when I start that process, I'll hear your name. They're connected to your soul anyway already. And then, so sometimes they're communicating about other beings or something like that. And then sometimes they're talking directly to your soul. But basically what you'll be hearing, or whoever's listening will be hearing, is you're going to hear the Kontomble speaking in their language, which is very high pitched, and then I translate it, and then they speak, and then I translate it. And sometimes they'll ask you a question, or it'll go back and forth, or they'll be sharing things with you. And if you want to ask them a question, feel free to.
Okay.
And then does that feel good? And then we
Beautiful. That sounds wonderful.
Okay,
So
awesome.
should I turn my camera off too?
If you want to, I'm gonna
Okay.
go ahead and turn my camera off.
We'll respect it both ways. Ready whenever you are.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's see. Well, if you feel called to say anything or put any intention in, and then we'll flow with it.
Okay. I ask that the spirits of this radio show, past, present, and future, bring forth illuminating light so darkness does not have a place. All those listeners, past, present, and future, may you open up to the unlimited potential and point of view, and may the little people shine us with bright, inspiring and words.
They're laughing already. Right away they're showing me an eagle. Looks like there's an eagle connected to you. Okay. For whatever reason, they're waiting for you to greet them. So if you want to say hello, anything.
Hello, little people from the place of space and time. We greet you and honor you today, and we ask that you enlighten us with your beautiful words of wisdom.
Okay, so they're showing me simultaneously. They're showing me there's something about like lightning energy or spiritual lightning, and also simultaneously they're showing me this. It's almost I'm trying to understand the vision that they're showing. It's like is it timeless? It's neurological. It's something neurological. It's like two going into one. It's this neurological something. It's two going into one. So they're saying they're referring to what you were talking about earlier with regards to trauma and everything, and then they're talking about like spiritual neurology. And the choice that one can make to move towards their authentic spiritual inheritance is the way they're saying it. They're saying like, gone are the days of the spiritual guru, it is true. And in its place is the question, what will you choose? What will you choose? So obviously they're talking to like the greater you, like what will you choose? Mm-hmm. they're saying about you, Andrew, they said, Andrew has taken a long journey or a short journey, depending on the view, depending on how you, what you view through. And towards the central sun of experience. He said he lives like wedded to time, and also outside of time simultaneously. And they said also, like, in deep devotion to however you called the earth, they said many names for the earth simultaneously. Understanding that we are here also in service to the earth. And so in what form does this service take? Or in what form does this service, or what form does this service give? They said, to give or to take is like the conundrum of these times. To give or to take is the conundrum of these times. And they said, but what if it is true? Like, to give is to receive. But what if it is true? To give is to receive. And what if it is true? To receive is to give. So what if it is true that it's like going through like an infinity cycle? So what if it is true? To give is to receive. And what if it is true? To receive is to give. They're mentioning that you've come into this era, like in great service. Seeing much more than being seen, seeing much more than being seen. And they said, and sometimes it is like that. Sometimes we come in and we're able to see more than we are able to be seen. They wanted me to ask you about paper airplanes.
Well, I'm a big paper airplane enthusiast, actually.
That's what I wondered. They were showing me, and I was like, why in the world are they asking me about paper airplanes?
In the folding of paper,
okay.
paper is an ancient technology that children and adults have been using to discover the wind and how we can influence the wind spirits on a subtle level.
Oh, wow.
And this goes back to the Olmec teachings and the little people that were working with the Olmecs to remind people that paper that was made out of the yucca plant would be able to fly in the wind. And there were many shapes that could be discovered that could enter the wind spirit.
Wow. The Kontomble said, please elaborate, don't stop there.
Well, again, the technology of paper requires the artist to understand the nature of alchemy, of what materials and ingredients they're working with, to make something that's lightweight enough, yet imprintable with our mind space, that it can tap into the energies of what you're trying to work with. And then there are certain papers that are water resistant that can make paper boats. Okay, or in the China situation, those rice paper balloons with a little candle, and then they launch off tens of millions of little rice paper balloons.
And they said, and their question to you is, okay, let me see if I can follow that. They said their question to you is, do mathematics generate nature, or does nature give rise to what humans calibrate as mathematical? Hopefully
So there is, I get that. There is a geometry of math that is natural in nature, and then there is man's perception of nature that can generate an unnatural mathematics. And a natural mathematics and unnatural mathematics are the give and take of consciousness trying to raise its awareness of the natural world that is asking the unnatural math to begin to define natural math. And it's a give and take that allows evolution of the spirit. It's what I call entering the living algorithm, where the spirit uses natural and unnatural mathematics to generate angles of awareness and perception so that a DNA structure can be created, so that as we evolve and we move on as a soul and somebody else takes up a line in the lineage, they have the record of the previous mathematics, living and natural and unnatural, as a fundamental basis, so that younger souls can go through the charting of their own course through natural and unnatural mathematics.
Beautiful. Look at somebody said, we couldn't have said it better ourselves. They said, they're saying about you, like, he is rather astute. We'll give him that. They said, okay, so they have a mathematical difficulty or probability for you, depending on how you view this. One more time. It's like they're saying simultaneously different things. They're saying, like, how did humans fall out of step with their true North Star? How did humans fall out of step with their... They're saying many things simultaneously. Their true North Star, their ancestors, their destiny. They said, like, what forces have caused humans to regress?
Oh, so this comes back to 2,600,000 years ago, when they changed the style of DNA that they wanted on the surface of the world, and they began implementing the medulla oblongata, which is motion sensory awareness. And that enhanced the fight, flight, and freeze mechanism. And it also gave access to fight, flight, and freeze to the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is the direct access to the spiritual perceptions, ancestors, etc. The vagus nerve is what connects all the organs, or chi-based awareness and living life force, to the human being. And having fight, flight, and freeze as a blockade stopped the natural perceptions of the ancestor-based spirits. Also, Earth, they use technology to generate a second and third North Pole. We were tripolar and then quadpolar for a while. That means we had 4 North Poles, 4 South Poles, 4 East, and 4 West, which represented the many millions and billions of different spirits who were coming from different places, and it allowed celestial influence energy, like Saturn influenced us, Mars and Venus influence us, other worlds and other galaxies could be influencing us through our quadpolar system, which allowed an immigration of people to come in here and enter DNA skin suits that had alternate mathematics of disconnection from source. But the main spiritual contract is, and every time you are disconnected from source, you are relearning another connection to source. So this became source connection and disconnection school.
You probably can tell this, Andrew. I didn't mention this before, but I work with a village of Kontomble. There's different ones that are coming forward. They're like, okay, he's good. He's got that. Like the elder comes forward. Yes. Clearly he knows the elder came forward. Well done. So they said, okay, so how do humans get out of this mess?
It really comes down to prayer. Prayer and having your voice be heard, and knowing through faith and the journey of healing one's faith that we are all one, and it's not a cliche anymore.
Sure.
And that journey into oneness is what I call the out loud, name it to reclaim it system. When you know something, you can claim your power back from it. When something has authority over you, you can claim your authority back over it. And to understand, the system works through tacit consent. If you don't know you've agreed to something, can you stop yourself from agreeing? Right. And this is where you have to generate the words that say, if something has been done in my unknowingness that fractures or alters my energy, I don't have to allow it. I don't even have to know what it is. I just have to claim the power that the unknown world does not have power over me. And I allow the unknown world to come to my seat of my awareness, and I'm not afraid of the unknown because my journey here is to make it known. That's the essence of it. The journey to de-traumatizing and reconnecting to natural living. Everyone will go through that a different way. There's no one cookie cutter way of fixing everyone. But we're still cookie dough. Okay? Yeah. We're still the dough because the cutter doesn't get everyone.
Okay. They're like, well done, Andrew, well done. well done. They're saying, like, in closing for today, perhaps we'll do this again, but would you like to ask a question or two or say anything to them? Yes, please feel free.
I would like to ask them about the little people's relation. How did the little people interact with the Mayans and the Oltecs and the Toltecs in the Central American, Mesoamerican communities? Were they a part of their culture? Were they energy influences and teachers? Were they direct teachers?
The Mayans and the Toltecs.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, they're saying they've been there with them all along. They're talking about they're talking about blue energy. They're talking about blue energy. It's interesting, you were talking about color earlier, but they're talking about blue energy, and they're talking about blue energy, and they're talking about blue energy and its ability to soothe And they're talking about that blue energy going into corn. Because they're talking about their connection to corn, and they're talking about that blue energy going to corn. And that's important. They're talking about the corn, the connection to corn, the Mayans and their connection to corn, and then they're talking about the blue energy and how that blue energy, it's like it jumped into corn. And they're talking about how they've been working with them, especially, and it's like the sowing of the seeds. They keep talking about the sowing of the seeds, the sowing of the seeds. And it's the calendrical systems also, and they keep talking about the connection with the sowing of the seeds, because they're saying like their work with the Mayans, and also but they're focusing on the Mayans, but they're also the Toltec, yes, but they're focusing on the Mayans right now, and they're talking about that work with the sowing of the seeds and the sowing of the seeds, and they're showing them with them sowing seeds, and how that blue went into the corn. And also the sowing of the seeds is also the intention that goes into the crop. And so the sowing of the seed and the intentionality and all of that with the astrology, like none of that was out of step, and that was also their work with them.
So their work was in the calendar, the sowing of the seeds, the imprinting in the seeds, and how those seeds could be stored for future generations.
Yeah, they definitely won't take responsibility for the calendar. They definitely don't take responsibility for the calendar, but they're not taking responsibility also for this, but they're showing themselves with regards, they show them like with them, like planting seeds and these intentions and this blue energy and how it went into the seeds, into the earth. When you say the calendar, although they were mentioning the calendar, like we won't take responsibility for the creation of the calendar, but it's only the alignment with the calendar.
Okay.
That's what they're showing, the intentions with the earth, and that relationship with the calendar, which the relationship with the calendar is what they're showing.
Yes. Because the blue corn
Yes.
is actually represents a high energy being society that came into the DNA of the corn itself, which was to render a long-term generational healing on the Mayan people. And that this corn would also be propagated here and taken to other worlds as a form of healing the surface of worlds that were ravaged by destruction.
One more needs to be said. Yeah, thank you. When you share they said Galactic Superstar. yeah, that. Okay, please continue. Very excited about yes.
So that. Can we ask them about the Viracocha and the Quetzalcoatl energies?
Yes.
How did they interact with the teacher spirits from the other places?
Will you say that one more time?
The Viracochas and the Quetzalcoatls. How did the little people interact with the other teachers from other stars?
Oh. Basically what they're saying is like, okay, let me say. Essentially, they want me to say, before you ask that question, and also as a response to your question, they believe in respect of all living beings. And so, yes, they have respect for all living beings, and also... Will you say the names one more time, Andrew?
Viracocha and Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl, that's the snake one, huh?
That's as winged serpent, yes.
It's interesting with those particular ones that you just asked about. They're saying they don't want to say anything more about those particular ones. They just stop.
Because they didn't get along with them.
Yeah. They just stop. They're like,
if you don't have anything good to say, you don't have to say anything at all. Yeah, and that's something my mother taught me. And all that was it's a confirmation that humanity has the perception of history wrong. That the Veracocha and Quetzalcoatl were there for the benefit of humankind.
Because when I was watching it, Andrea, and they were saying they don't want to say anything more about it. They just said stop that energy, and so I said okay. Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly. And it's the combination, Andrew. It's the combination of what they're showing me, and when I feel your energy, I'm like, oh, okay. I feel like I can put that picture together. They're saying they plead the fifth.
We plead the fifth. That's wonderful. I know that those guys were a bunch of pricks, the Quetzalcoatl and they may have accidentally elbowed them in the astral world and tipped over their golden plates.
Jesus, they're giving us a hell of a hard time on this journey. Let me tell you. We've encountered them. It's been rough. Do you want to ask one more question?
Yes. How can people begin the journey of connecting to the little people around them? And this is for the audience in general.
Okay. Well, they're saying, you can come to us with curiosity. It's similar to what you were saying earlier, Andrew. That kind of like wonder space and the curiosity. They said, we're not going to bite you. They said, well, we just might.
just a little nibble.
Yeah, just a little nibble. It's not going to hurt too much. They're saying you can go out, if you're able to go out into nature, you can go out to, a little rock, a stream, bring your intention, bring some honey. They love honey because they're connected to the bees and to life and all of that. Anyway, they love honey. They said, bring your intentions to the stream. And if you can't go to an actual stream, then, meditate and see yourself at that stream. And you're able to, if you offer honey inside of your apartment and you can't go out to a stream, then understand that stream can connect with you spiritually. That will begin the connection in kind. They said, we're friends. That's really ultimately what it is. It's a respectful, reverential friendship. That's what it is. The different spiritual beings, that's ultimately what it is. We're all friends,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Kontomble is saying to you, Andrew, they're saying, thank you so much for the work that you're doing with humanity. They said they understand sometimes it can feel tedious and sometimes it can be tedious. But nonetheless, it's working. They said they send blessings to your ancestors.
Thank you so much.
Oh. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, little people, and thank you for everyone that's listening. Any last words you'd like to get from the Kontomble?
Wait, say that one more time.
Any last words of wisdom you'd like to give the audience from the Kontomble?
Oh, okay. Well, basically what they're saying, Andrew, is they're saying, it's interesting, they show this like energy going down the tubes, going down the tubes, going down the tubes. And so what they were saying is that they're saying there are, people who are in these, so-called like higher positions of authority that are encouraging humans to believe that they are inferior, and their wishes and their dreams and their aspirations and their beliefs and everything are not even worthy of consideration. They should go down the tubes, down the tubes, down the tubes. Whether they say that explicitly or it's inferred energetically, too many humans are receiving that like impulse. Yeah. And so essentially what they're saying essentially is like, your life is worthy, you matter, like, please know that you matter. Essentially, Andrew, it's what they're, maybe you pick up this too, they get concerned about humans that just essentially like believe that they don't matter, that their lives don't matter. And so that's what they're showing, is like, please know that you matter,
Right. For all those people who've been marginalized and gaslighted by the world and the system, you do matter. And like I said earlier, we're all old souls. You made it this far. That's to everyone that's out, or you made it this far. There is something special in you. And now you got to start weaving back together the joy of having faith in yourself. And from that joy and faith in yourself, you'll discover there's a whole world out there that has faith in you too.
Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. We believe in you. We believe in you. We believe in you. We believe in you, Andrew, and we believe in you that are listening too. We believe in you. So thank you so much, Andrew. It is an honor each time we connect. And so thank you to everybody listening. And yeah, we are so grateful to connect in this way and to be in the magical world of Andrew, or the being known as Andrew, whatever you are, I don't know, like the phenomenon.
I'm the phenomenon, yes.
The phenomenon. It'd be like Prince had a symbol,
Yep.
The symbol, Andrew.
Yes, the symbol known as Andrew, exactly.
I have a feeling we may do this again, and it's so look forward.
Oh, I know we will.
Right? I feel that. I totally feel
Yes.
that. It's been so much fun, and the Kontomble are like, yes, somebody
Wonderful.
we can, do this thing with. So,
Yes.
okay. So thank you so much, Andrew.
So do you want to give a way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So my primary website right now is Earth's Amulet, and I have a YouTube channel, Liv Wheeler YouTube. Yeah, so that's
Wonderful.
it.
I'll have all the information in the description of the show. We ask everyone to come in and hit the like and subscribe button, and then we want to start a topic inside the chat thread for questions for the Kontomble the next time we have Liv come on.
Yeah. Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, get a chat through anything that you want to ask the little people, and we ask you to be kind. Okay, we know there are Earth trolls out there.
No trolls. Yeah, the
No
trolls. Like, go back under the bridge.
Exactly.
We'll give you an offering. Yeah.
Liv in Kontomble, thank you so much. You've really illuminated my heart today. The joy in your laughter is just it's infectious in a great way. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, look forward to the next, Andrew.
I look forward to having you on soon also. Bye-bye.
Yeah, okay, talk to you soon. Bye.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the holy grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Hello, let's create, let's co-create, and let's change this world with love. No matter if you're from Alpha Centauri or Earth, we all began with the same birthing process. We live in a limited point of view. Living the mystical life daily is about striving for the unlimited point of view. Each day, each human being gets an infinite amount of choices. Living the mystical life daily is about facing obstacles and challenges. The level of awareness that you are working at means you have a responsibility to be equal with it. How does one truly let go of expectation? You can make the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to sleep sacred. The keys to success: choice, 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 and choice.